Okay, I think that everything that we got was good, but in terms of gameplay, there wasn't that much, if you ask me. It's just more of getting to know everyone on a personal level, which I think they're doing a little better this time compared to 41, but of course, 41 was the first time that they're trying to do an edit like this, and, but it is nice to actually have us get to know these people on a little more personal level, what they're trying to bring into the show or just their daily lives. Like, what's wrong with that? And when was the last time we had anything that was even remotely close to this? I really can't think of anything, because Winners at War, we knew these people already. Island of the Idols, I think that people were trying to do a little bit of that with how diverse the cast was, but then of course Dan just ruined everything. Edge of Extinction, Twist dominated the thing. David vs. Goliath, I totally analyzed the season run. And then Old School Survivor, there might have been a little bit of this, but they were definitely focusing more on the element aspect of the game and the challenges versus these people's personalities based on what I remember. And of course, the game is an entirely different beast back then, so you can't totally compare. You really want to compare US presidents from the 1800s versus 30s onwards? It's not the same, Right. So there's that little bit. The guy on the Green Tribe struggling with the fact that he pretty much has to give up his veganism in order to properly sustain himself out there. Well, I do feel for him, but the thing is, what were you expecting when you applied to be on this show, dude? It just seems kind of obvious. Now, I know what you're thinking. We were complaining about this for Kimmy, for Australian Outback back in Cambodia. Well, the thing is, Kimmy is just a straight-up vegetarian, and coincidentally, the environments that she was in, they seem to offer better things for her than Fiji did, based on what very little they talked about it on those shows. And also, veganism is a little more extreme version of vegetarianism. But here's the thing, though. If you don't know poker, you're not going to know who I'm talking about. But there's this well-known professional poker player called Daniel Negreanu, who happens to be a good friend of Boston Rob. And Daniel Negreanu, on various podcasts, has mentioned that he actually has had an on and off interest on appearing on this show. And that Rob was actually trying to help him on and off to get on. But there were two issues. One, the fact that Daniel is Canadian, although given how Tommy and Erica are actually both Canadian and they won their seasons, that doesn't seem to be that much of an issue now. But then the other issue was the fact that he was a vegan. So he mentioned that if I happened to know that I was getting on the show, I would have to start eating meat so my body could get used to it. Because it seems like this guy didn't practice eating meat at all. Now, that could help him, but it could also leave him for a decent amount of cramps. But then again, if all he's eating are these tiny slivers of fish that are about as big as my whole fingernail thingy here, meaning the pink parts, maybe that isn't enough. Who knows? It's the same logic with eating 2 potato chips every day. Not 2 servings, literally 2 chips. Is that really going to give you a boost of sugar? You might have like 12 calories, but is that really going to do anything? I don't think so. So I do feel for the guy, but what were you expecting? Then the Blue Tribe, I really like what Dalton Ross says in his recap. I really don't get what that black chick with the extra vote was really thinking. Yes, there's the argument of covering up your bases, but I don't know. It seems kind of odd. We're going to need to get a little more from them to understand what the thinking is. And that's really all I can say, besides the fact that everyone else is betting, if they go to Tribal Council, they get rid of Tory. We'll have to wait. Green tribe again with the idol mishap. I'll touch upon the orange tribe after I discuss the challenge, because they lose the challenge. With that idol mishap, I'm kind of surprised that it doesn't happen more often, although I know that this did happen on one season of Survivor South Africa, and I seem to recall that it happened on either David vs. Goliath or Island of the Idols. I really can't remember which one it was, but I really do think that this has happened before, although of course he found the idol, and then of course in that season of Survivor South Africa, somebody else found the idol, because apparently in Survivor South Africa, if somebody finds your idol, they're allowed to take it. Well, that's stupid if you ask me, right? Right. And then, when, what's his face, Eric is sharing it with Daniel, Daniel actually tells him, don't say the phrase. Well, that never even crossed my mind as, being an option, but I guess that does kind of make sense, where, you're just not going to, be, looking like as foolish, because, Xander or, what's his face, Brad or Brett, I don't remember which one it was from last season, when they first did it, they, seemed kind of foolish, but everyone started expecting to hear them say those phrases at the challenges, which made them realize, at some point, that, you know, he has an idol. So that is kind of smart, especially since these people haven't seen 41. Now, you might think that that's a little bit, you know, against the rules, but here's the thing, though. The same result is accomplished if Green had lost the challenge. So regardless if Eric says the phrase or not, he's lost his vote, and he knows it. And there was nothing in the, paper that said you have to say the phrase at every single challenge. You just have to say the phrase in order to activate the idols, and all three of them have to be said at the same challenge. That was stated. Never said that you couldn't avoid saying it at a challenge. And the idea of knowing that there's another idol at the other beaches and trying to not get them activated, that's actually not a bad idea, because Daniel's vote isn't at risk. Whoever he was talking to, her vote isn't at risk, it's just Eric. And it'd be really easy to shove him under the bus in that regard. Who knows, maybe like with last season, having the idol could actually really, come and bite you, minus Xander, who was open about just about everything, and he only got votes one time. Yeah, like, huh? That's the crazy thing about him. He barely had his name written down the entire season. It's crazy. Yeah. Okay, so then that, challenge? Nice challenge, and that puzzle, it really got intense, and I knew it was going to come down to the wire well in advance, and I was tense, because I didn't really want the blue tribe to go to tribal, because I felt like that would be kind of boring, but that was my only, thinking going into the challenge, because, like, there's no one this season that I'm really rooting for or against yet. That's good, and that it makes it easier to watch, but it's harder, and that it's a little trickier to make these videos, although I'm having an easier time talking about this season than last season, which goes to show you, why is it that the first season in any location or an era seems to be weaker than the second, even though obviously David vs. Goliath was better than Edge of Extinction, huh? Even though it was easier for me to talk about Edge of Extinction, because I actually understood what was going on in the edits. Right. So Orange loses, and then we start getting little bits and pieces for where they all go, yeah, we all like each other, but somebody's got to go. And I found that bit where, not Jonathan, the other guy was, telling them that he was a Muslim, but really not making a big deal about it. He's just saying, if you see me doing this or this, it's just me praying or doing a bit of the religion, okay? I don't really want it to be a big deal, because you can tell that the religion means something to him, but at the same time, he's using that as just one of his factors, And did he indicate that, he ever wants anyone to join him? No. He implied that he's willing to have anyone join him, but that's it. And he's like, if you'd like to talk to me about it, you can. I don't mind doing it. Why don't we be an inclusive bunch here? And it was all positive. And Jonathan even throws out to the bit about Christianity, too. What? And it really is kind of amusing to see those two, having their bromance business, because obviously we've seen a bunch of bromances before, and two people that don't look the same doing their thing. But yeah, this is truly a stereotypical odd couple, so that did make it kind of amusing. I'm real curious to see what happens there, because these two most likely are going to have a conversation where one of them is going to consider betraying the other. Not because they're totally different, just because of the sheer probability of it. Even though I'm sure that there have been a couple pairings that form almost immediately, and then there's no talk of getting rid of them, although we shouldn't count Richard and Rudy, because that was the first season. And Rudy, let's face it, he was pretty blind in his loyalty. Right. Can't think of any other huge example off the top of my head, minus maybe the guys in Africa. I don't know. I really need to rewatch that season, because I did not get a lot of things that were going on in that season when I was first watching it. That's a season that, with hindsight, you really appreciate in a different light. Same thing with Tocantins, albeit for entirely different reasons. Right. So then it becomes clear that it's either Mariah or Marianne going, and I was kind of inclined to think that it would be 3 votes Marianne and 2 votes for Mariah, based on the fact that Jonathan seemed to really be promising Marianne that I'm not going to vote you out, but at some point, something shifted and they all decided to vote out Mariah out, hopefully I'm saying that right, who also plays her shot in the dark correctly, albeit unsuccessfully. But that's just crazy, huh? So, part of me is really hoping that the trend continues when the Green Tribe goes to Tribal Council the first time. After that, though, I want it to be a little more random, but I just think that would be just so amusing. All 3 times that these tribes go to Tribal for the first time, That would be awesome. Well, I guess I did actually have enough to say to make a full-length video, but as I said, there really wasn't that much about gameplay. It was just more about the people, even though I don't have a lot of people's names memorized, but let's see what happens. I'm looking forward to next week.